IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you're all well and keeping safe. On the podcast today, we have a returning guest, Saakshi Rajat, a traveler and now co-founder at True Joy Travels. When we spoke to Saakshi last time, she had shared a wonderful itinerary to the river island of Majuli in Assam. And now she's back in a very different avatar as co-founder at True Joy Travels. So let's hop onto the episode and find out where Saakshi is taking us to today. So with that introduction, we'd love to welcome back, I should say, Saakshi Rajat, co-founder at True Joy Travels, a luxury travel service company that does curated trips for seniors. Saakshi, thank you so much for being back on the Musafir Stories and welcome.
Thank you so much, Saif. It's an honor to, appear on Musafir Stories podcast once again.
For those of you, I should say only the loyal listeners might remember this because Saakshi's episode goes back to almost 5 years ago now, right? Saakshi was kind enough, was one of the early guests on the podcast to appear on the medium when it was still very untried and untested, I would say, going against the tried and tested. But Saakshi, thank you so much for being back. And it feels like yesterday, but also feels like aeons ago at the same time, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself for listeners who are listening to you for the first time?
Sure. So, of course, my name is Saakshi and I'm the co-founder of True Joy Travels, which is a luxury travel service for seniors above age 50. I'm also an avid traveler. I've been traveling for over 8 years now and have traveled to over 11 countries and more than 20 states, roughly, in India. Also, I've been blogging for several years now on all the social media platforms by the name Saakshi Rajat. So, to put the long story short, I've been really passionate about travel and showing seniors around. I've traveled with my family for several years. I've taken them to places. And that's how True Joy Travels concept came to our minds, where we thought that we could show more seniors this beautiful world.
Saakshi, when you said 50 plus, I was like, I only have to wait 10 more years for this. So I'm not far off, Saakshi. Maybe I'll be doing a trip with you soon. But jokes apart, this is definitely a very, very noble and novel effort as well, I would say, because especially in places and cities, like a lot of the big cities in India, people tend to be running this rat race where you're so busy and caught up that you just don't find time for yourself or even your family at times, right? And the ones who end up bearing the brunt in some of these instances are seniors who have to be dependent on somebody else, like the near family, for any sort of travel. And I'm glad that now they have the ability to just sign up with a company like you who takes care of the travel, and that way they're not losing out on some of the experiences which they'd been hoping and saving all their lives for, right? And how long has True Joy Travels been around?
It's been over 4 months now, and we have already done 2 trips, one to Goa and one to Sri Lanka.
So wonderful. Great to hear that. So with that in mind, Saakshi, where do you want to take us and our listeners to today with True Joy Travels?
So we are heading to Goa today, and it'll be a 4-night, 5-day trip for you all as well on this virtual travel. And I'll tell you from the point of view of taking seniors to Goa, we had divided the day into parts where, we can give enough rest to seniors so that it doesn't become a rush itinerary for them. And it was not a typical itinerary where, you just tick off places from the bucket list, because I'm not sure if there are a lot of seniors who make those bucket lists anymore. So it was basically to, make this travel very, very joyous for them. So it should have enough rest. There should be enough to see in the day so that they also don't feel that they are not doing much during the day.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Saif, we had visited Goa with seniors in monsoon in July, where a lot of people don't visit Goa in monsoons because they say the shacks are not open, the beaches, you can't visit beaches, etc., etc. But we took this conscious call of taking seniors to Goa in monsoons because both of us, my partner Vrinda and I, we had seen Goa in monsoons. And it is beyond beautiful. I mean, I had not seen Goa as beautiful as it was in monsoons. So we made this decision of taking the seniors to Goa specifically in monsoons. We might do it in any other month of the year as well, but monsoons makes Goa extremely beautiful. So and then we did a lot of immersive things like I could touch base upon these things later as well. But just to mention, we did a heritage walk, which was done by locals there in Goa. They showed Goa their own way to the seniors. We did visit an island, which is a big island in Goa. Also, we took the ladies to experience casino. That was, for us, that was a big deal because we were not sure that how many senior ladies would, visit a casino. And Goa is known for casino amongst youngsters. So we didn't want to deprive them of this experience which youngsters often, experience.
Yeah, already this sounds like a very, very different trip, and I'm not saying that because like this was planned and done with seniors, but even just going by the variety, right? Always, especially with a lot of the youngsters, and I can definitely speak about myself, like while we were either studying or even when we were working, Goa meant the beaches, the music, the party, like those types of things is what you would associate with Goa. But at the same time, you've shown so many different aspects of Goa, right? And especially traveling in monsoon, it gives a completely different face to Goa, right? And something that not a lot of us know of or even think about. So I'm glad and I'm looking forward to chatting with you a little bit more about this. But let's dive back into a little bit more about, let's say, what goes into the planning itself, right? Because as True Joy Travels, and pardon me, I'll use TJT from time to time, just to make it a little quicker.
Sounds good to me.
With True Joy Travels, what kind of planning goes into this? Because I'm sure this is a little different, right? It's not something that you could just be too casual or be too light about. This does need some sort of planning while you're traveling with seniors. So can you give a little bit of insight into what are the things and considerations you take or keep into mind while you're planning a trip like this?
Yes, sure. So in all honesty, it definitely needs a lot more planning than taking a group of youngsters on a trip, right? So TGT organizes group trips. This is not like customized for a couple, a senior or something. So we do group trips wherein we take 8 to 12 people in a particular group, and we also do mixed groups and ladies only groups. So it depends what kind of group we are taking. So of course it takes a lot of planning, but there are small things which we take care of. Like we really believe in taking care of little details more than anything else. Like small little things like figuring out the stay very close to the healthcare. We always had a doctor's number on our favorites contact list, so that in case of any emergency, we are prepared. We'd always carry a first aid kit in our bags. Even if we are stepping out only for a dinner to a nearby restaurant, we would carry that first aid kit for sure. So these are the, bigger things. For example, the stays should be beautiful, also aesthetically nice, close to healthcare. The transport vehicle should be comfortable. All these are the bigger things which, of course, we have to be very, very careful about. But we also take care of the little things, like we made sure that we make the trips all inclusive, because we don't want them to bother about paying for this, that, etc. Right? We want them to just forget their wallets, forget everything else, and just be in the place, enjoy the most. So this was one. Another thing is we always made sure that our evenings are, very joyful. So on one evening, we jumped into a plunge pool of an villa we had booked in Goa. The other evening, we just went out shopping. The third evening, there was poetry happening in the group, in the Airbnb villa itself. So a lot of activities to keep them engaged and to make it light, so that they can also have heartful conversations with each other. They can also create that bond amongst themselves, because at their age, we, of course, all of us understand it gets difficult to make those conversations, right? So so small little things. We tell them to dress up, or we would dress them up sometimes. Maybe do a little makeup for them. So small little things like welcome dinners and farewell dinners. We would really hype them to get ready, take out time, like give them enough time to dress as much as they want. So, all these little things that we would really care that if they've taken their medicines of the day before hitting the bed. So, I mean, all these are, very little things when you hear about them. But then I think that is what our USP is. Like both of us, Vrinda and I, both of us are very, very particular about the little details. Of course, the big details we plan before the trip, but all these little things like small little welcome hampers, which are also made by seniors only. So like on this Goa trip, we had carried small pouches, like sling bags, wherein seniors could put their phones, their small knickknacks. We had also carried some home cooked food, small snacks, kind of things, which was also done by seniors. So we just try to make it a very wholesome kind of experience for everybody as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of these things, like you rightly said, one could easily overlook, right? If you were just doing it for yourself, or like you said, if you're planning it with a bunch of youngsters, a lot of things you don't quite take into consideration, but especially things like being closer to healthcare facilities, or the, let's say, stays or accommodations being accessible even, right? Or even when you're planning out the itinerary, I'm sure taking care of things like where you don't have to climb a lot of steps and things like that, which are not very strenuous. So things like that are taken care of, and I'm glad that you are actually making it almost like a very personal affair rather than this being a big group where it's just everybody is by themselves, and then almost becomes like one of those, no offense, but I've seen a lot of these Chinese tour buses where you just come in a bus full of tourists, and the guide gets out and say, okay, this is what it is, go figure out yourselves and spend some time and be back here in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever. I'm glad that it's not that type of experience, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to keep it as authentic as possible and as close to personal experience as possible. And kudos to you and your team for actually going above and beyond and ensuring that that is a part of the experience.
Yeah. But the number of blessings we get every day on the trip, and even after the trip, Saif, I can't put that in words. I mean, those blessings are innumerable. On every small thing we did, we heard somebody saying "God bless you," or it was just too overwhelming for both of us.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and wishing you and the team a lot of success and many more joyous trips with True Joy Travels.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I can't hold my excitement back, Saakshi. I'm keen on learning out how this Goa trip and Goa itinerary planned out for you. And I think there is always this meme doing the rounds that go Goa and then Goa plans get cancelled, right? So this is not the case with True Joy Travels, and this is one where I'm looking forward to enjoying the different aspects and the variety you bring to the table as well as a part of this itinerary. So tell us a little bit more about the itinerary. Maybe we can start looking at it on a day-by-day breakdown. Is that a good idea, Saakshi?
Sure, I can do that as well, or maybe I can tell you the important places we took them to, so that because it basically varied, because as per the plan there was some other place scheduled and it rained that time, so we had to switch to other place, because that's how travels are, right? You have to adapt on the go and then make the most of the time as well. So on the day of their arrival, I think most of them had reached around 4 o'clock. I think 4 p.m. Was when the last person arrived. So it was almost the end of the day because the sunset. So we took them to a sunset and it started raining, I remember. And all of the senior ladies were so sporty to get down of that vehicle and actually get wet in the rains at the beach. It was an experience where all their umbrellas were flying, all their raincoats were beyond control. So it was windy, it was rainy, and they were at the beach. And it's just that because I think that seniors, when they travel with families, they tend to take care of the family members more than they enjoy themselves, right? So, that evening, we were very worried because it started raining really heavily, and we were worried that, if we should take the seniors down from the vehicle or not. But all of them, like unanimously, they were so sporty to get down with the vehicle and actually enjoy the beach. So we did that on the first day, and then next day we started with a heritage walk, which I mentioned earlier. It's a heritage walk which happens in Panjim. The area is called Fontainhas. It's very, very popular now amongst youngsters also because it has all those colored houses, which are built in Portuguese style. So we did that walk, which was really, really special. It was slightly raining that day also, and they were wearing their raincoats. I was listening to this guy who was talking all the history of the, Goan Portuguese era. So it was really, really interesting to see them, listening to this guy with their raincoats on, clicking pictures. So it was a lot of fun to, watch them do all that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Fontainhas, by the way, is what is known as the Latin Quarter of Goa, right? And it is popular for these really old Portuguese villas that are very, very colorful as well. Maybe not to the scale of, let's say, the French quarters that you see in Pondicherry, but definitely comparable. And this has been, I believe, declared as a World Heritage Site as well, right? So that way it is very... one of the very beautiful and different kind of areas within Goa, and falls into that cultural aspect of Goa that one can experience, right? Besides the beaches and a lot of other things that it has to offer. And I'm glad that you got to spend some time here. And how long was, let's say, a heritage walk like this for?
It was, it could be covered in, I think, 20 minutes if everybody kept moving. But everybody wanted tons and tons of pictures. So we stopped everywhere. We took a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. And they also asked a lot of questions. So one of them asked that why all these houses are in different colors, right? So the guy there, his name is Bob, he told us that during the colonial Portuguese rule, right, as per local municipal rule, owners of houses had to paint their houses every year after southwest monsoon. It was it had become a sort of long-held tradition, and I understand, I think it still persists today.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I also find interesting is even the names of streets, right? It's like 31st of January and things like that. I think street names are also very peculiar there, and just knowing that these are basically tied to important dates in the Portuguese history, so it was good to know. But yeah, a very, very different and unique area even within Goa, I would say. And I believe even in around Feb or so of every year, they have like a lot of art installations and art galleries that open up. So if you're planning your visit around that time of the year, this is also something you can experience around Fontainhas. But having spent some time doing this heritage walk, what was on your plan next?
So we also wanted to show them the famous landmarks of Goa, right? These touristy places are touristy for a reason, as I always say.
Sure.
But places like, these two churches which are in Goa, Basilica of Bom Jesus, say Cathedral, which are like right opposite to each other. Sure. These are famous for a reason, right? So we made sure that after Fontainhas, we take them there and show them, and of course click as many pictures. I'll keep repeating this because seniors are really, really into pictures. I mean, we were pleasantly surprised to see that, after every change of clothes, they would want pictures in the villa, in the beautiful places. And I'm not sure if they, travel like... with their kids or something, they would ask as many pictures of themselves because they're busy, catering to the family.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm glad that we also got to visit some of these important landmarks. Tell us a little bit more about these visits. Both of these, like you mentioned, are iconic. Goa has no dearth of churches, right? There's a lot important churches and even a variety of churches, but these two definitely do stand out. Do you want to speak a little bit about your experience visiting there with the group?
Basilica of Bom Jesus is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, another must visit place in Goa, and it's located right in Old Goa, which was also the formal capital of Goa when Portuguese had colonized. So it was an important landmark, and of course the architecture of the church is breathtaking. It's beautiful, and especially in the monsoons with all the trees around and the grass cover, it was gorgeous to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Both on the outside and the inside, right?
Yes.
Obviously monsoon kind of amplifies the overall beauty from the outside, but even on the inside, with all of these ornate carvings and it's almost gilded, right? The altar, as we say.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was a good experience looking at all of those. And like to your point, this is a part of Old Goa or Velha Goa, as we call it, and the previous capital. And I believe there's a big plague after which this area went into a lot of disuse, and then the Portuguese moved to the newer part of Goa, which is Panji around that side, right? It's not too far away, but again, just a little bit of context around that place. And was this on the same day that you visited? I guess Fontainhas and these places are not too far away, even, right? They're pretty close.
We visited it right after Fontainhas. So we had visited a very old traditional bakery after that walk, which of course, Bob, the person from Soul Traveling, took us there, and it was being run by the third generation there. So it was very interesting. It was a very small bakery, and I had not seen it before, in all honesty. So it was a wonderful place. Like local traditional snacks we were served there, so it was good. And then soon after that we went to Old Goa to visit these churches.
Okay, wonderful. Again, just not to be or sound repetitive, but traveling with a local company, even if you're traveling by yourself, right? When you do your next Goa trip, check out companies like Soul Travel, who do a lot of these very authentic local experiences, and they do a ton of them, right? This is probably just one of them.
We did another experience with them in Chorao Island because we had I had done Chorao Island with them before, I think 2 years back or something, and I really liked that experience. So we had also taken their services to visit Chorao Island. So I'm not sure how many listeners know that Goa has around 17 islands, and Chorao Island is one of the largest of them. So, Goa and island, nobody really relates to this itinerary, what we have been talking. But then, if we do a little more immersive research, that's where we find all these gem of places.
No, sorry, I was going to say, for the listeners of Musafir Stories, they won't have missed out on this, because we did an episode exclusively on the islands of Goa.
Wonderful.
It's been a little bit, but so obviously we didn't touch upon all of the 17, but we touched on 5 of the important ones, and Chorao, obviously being the biggest of the islands, was definitely on that list. So I'm glad that you called it out, because even I was mind-boggled when I first, Goa Islands, really? And then as I uncovered layers, it was it's definitely a lot more than, as I keep saying, beaches and music and other things that we usually tend to associate with Goa. So it says, it's wonderful, and maybe, I'm sure down the line, the itinerary, when we touch upon Chorao Islands, we could even touch upon your previous experience when you visited there. Right?
Yeah.
So awesome. So having done a little bit of the cultural aspect, I would say, right? Both Fontainhas and now the churches, you've gotten a hint of the architecture, the Portuguese connection, and the religious connection that Goa has as well. What was on the plan next?
So it was time for food, and we took them to a very popular place where Goans go to eat, which is called Konkani Canteen. It's it's very popular amongst Goans, and they serve Goan thalis there majorly. Which is a very small place. If you've been to Pancham, if you've been to Konkani Canteen, it's a very small place. But you'll always see it full. I mean, we also had to wait for like some time before we could, find places to sit and eat.
One of the very, very underrated places, I would say, Konkani Canteen. And again, one of our previous episodes, we did receive this recommendation as well. So definitely do, try out Konkani Canteen. And I'm assuming day one was still pretty packed, right? With all of these places and the stopovers at the little bakery and the Heritage Walk and everything. I'm glad that you also at the same time didn't pack it up so much that it becomes stressful that you just want to go back to your hotel or wherever and crash. Right? It's not that time of a day.
So we also take care of this, that we understand what days we should pack how much, because for example the first day we wanted to keep it relaxed, so we did not do much other than visiting the sunset, which did not happen. But it's actually the first day of the trip after they've come, right? The next day is almost the first day of sightseeing. So we understand that they would want to see places, like they don't want it to be like completely chill and relax and do nothing, wake up late and like hit the bed early. Because see, of course, like they've spent money, they would want to, and I'm not sure that when will they visit Goa next time, right? So we try to make sure that we also place the itinerary in a way where they feel that they have done enough and more on that day, and they also get time in between to like relax and like chill and just sit and talk, all of that.
I'm glad that all of these things are actually being taken care of and considered, rather than, like I mentioned earlier on, where there's not just a bus full of tour group that stops from place to place for 15-20 minutes each and then goes on to the next one, covering 10-12 places in a day. Right? That's probably the last thing you want to do. How's the itinerary looking for day 2 then, Saakshi?
Yeah, so actually it will be day 3.
Day 3, yeah.
The third day was about Chorao Island. I mean, it's an experience in itself, because you go to the port, you hop onto the ferry, you enjoy the views for 10-15 minutes, and then you reach the island. So pretty quick ferry, which makes you reach the island. And then we hopped onto a boat for a boat ride amongst the mangroves, also known as Dr. Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary. It's very popular there, and then you can spot a lot of migratory birds. We also spotted crocodiles, and I remember the faces of the seniors when they spotted crocodile. They were like really, really scared at the spot of it. So, and they could also spot a lot of migratory birds. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised, because I think that's what the experience of all these years, even if they've not seen, maybe they've read about the birds, a lot of them knew these birds. So spotted birds like white egrets are very commonly seen there. Also a lot of kingfishers, colorful kingfishers are seen there, woodpeckers, all these Brahmini kites. So all these birds are commonly seen. There are a lot of migratory birds as well. So they could spot these birds, and it was a sight, because we always think that they would know, they wouldn't have seen, but they spotting these birds and telling all of us that ye wahi bird hai na. So that was a good wholesome feeling for us as well. So we did that, and then we had gone to a yoga institute for breakfast, for a sattvic breakfast. Yeah, very simple food and light breakfast. Beautiful yoga center in Goa. I had not known that Goa has a yoga center. So there was this yoga center overlooking the island.
Yeah, very interesting. I was actually going to ask you even before this, but I just skipped my mind. How did you plan the stay? Like, were you, let's say, did you make Panjam as your base and you went out each day from there, or did you actually move completely and set up base?
So we had picked up a place in North Goa, which was in an area called Salegaon, and we wanted it to be a comfortable place, so that it was also reachable from the beaches. It is also close to the healthcare. It should not have steps. So all of that, we tried to, and we wanted it to be a ladies' gathering. So we didn't want to take up a hotel or something. We always prefer taking these boutique places where, the aesthetics are very beautiful. You have a kitchen to yourself. If somebody wants to make chai, if somebody wants to, make small eggs or something, right? So just a handy kitchen there. That's why we preferred a villa over any 3-star, 4-star or 5-star hotel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I digress, but I basically just wanted to touch in terms of if this was one place you'd set up as a base or you were skipping from place to place, which again makes sense, so that that way you don't lose too much time or just getting used to a new place each time, right? Then you have to move and move up with all your luggage and everything. Tell us a little bit about how much more time you spent at Chorao Island. Was this like a half-day thing, or what was the plan?
It was a little less than half day. Yeah, a little less than half day. We're also going to a local to do a cooking session with them. So, that was another interesting thing we did. We made a local sweet called patolio, if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not too sure, but it's called patolio. It's made with coconut, jaggery, rice paste, and you steam it on a leaf. And I've not tasted it before, so it was quite a different dish for me. So all the ladies, tried their hands on cooking, making that dish. Yeah, I visited a local's house again and saw their farmland. He had a lot of crops which he had planted. So he took time to explain all that. We also had lunch in their house. They had made like a variety of local dishes there. So we got to experience that as well. Yeah, another very, very interesting thing we did was write postcards. All the senior ladies wrote postcards. I don't remember then when was the last time I wrote postcard. And I'm sure it's a very nostalgic thing for them as well, because earlier there used to be those inland letters, right? The blue colored ones. So I'm sure they would have felt nostalgic when they wrote those postcards to their loved ones. Yeah, for sure. I think that's a very nice touch as well. So you basically had them write to their loved ones and post it from Goa, or just for the experience. Yeah, so we handed them over to Soul Traveling team and they posted it on our behalf. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. I was so excited. I had not received a postcard for ages, and then one of our guests who was on the podcast was kind enough to send me a postcard all the way from India, and lovely.
I literally could get the different smells, right? Like this had the smell of camphor, right? I don't know if you had placed it close by or whatever. So it was such a different experience. It's not just looking at it, but even just like touching and feeling and smelling it. I know it finds a little odd, but that's how touching it was. And yeah, I'm sure I could definitely connect with what you're saying, right? It's literally back in the day, we used to see a lot of them.
Especially for seniors, no? I mean, they are not so used to sending emails or messages or anything, or even phone calls. Like mobiles came in a lot later, right? So for them, letters is the thing. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you got to do all of these, and also this aspect of visiting an island, right? Chorao Island. It's completely different and cut off, and this is more the river side of Goa, right? We actually did cover another episode. Feels like I'm pitching episodes of Musafir Stories now, but we did an episode on the rivers, and like this is on the banks of the Mandavi River, which is again one of the bigger rivers in Goa. And it's a completely different feel, right? It's not like the beachside feel. It's inland, so you get a lot more accustomed to the local and smaller villages and towns within Goa, right? It's not just the bigger touristy and more commercial places. So I'm glad some of that was covered off as a part of the trip too. Plus,
the cherry on top of the visiting of the Salim Ali bird sanctuary and the boat ride around the mangroves, because again, very different from the beach side of Goa. So, you've done a lot in a couple of days, Saakshi.
Only the wholesome things, I feel.
And what else was there anything else planned for that day?
So we had also visited casino in the evening.
Okay.
It was not a very long affair, because the idea was to make them experience things they wouldn't otherwise. I remember my mother kept asking me for the longest time that why are you so fond of Goa, what do you do in Goa, what is there in Goa. So she was always so inquisitive about why do I keep going to Goa, right? I'm sure all the seniors who hear from their young kids that we are going to Goa, and they're always like, why do you go to Goa so often? So it was an experience. They were like looking at things with their mouth wide open. And it was an experience. The tables on the casinos, and they wanted to know what game is what. Of course, we did not end up spending a lot of time in the casino or playing a lot of games. But for the experience sake of it, we wanted to show them.
Okay, yeah, this is again something very unique. I think basically these casinos are they're probably on a boat, I'm assuming, right? Like on a ferry.
Yes.
Yeah, they're only legal. I mean, they're not legal on mainland, so you have to have them on these cruises. So I'm glad that you kind of touched upon that too, and a fairly newish concept, I would say. No, it's been around for a little bit, but again, relatively new, where you do have actually casinos that are legal in India, so I'm glad that as experience part of it, you covered that off too. And then what else? It's been a busy couple of days. I know you've taken time out to make this relaxed and laid back, but I guess I'm calling it busy just in terms of the varieties of things you're doing too. You've done a lot, but what else did you have in mind?
So we ended that day with the casino, and the next day we only had one more day left, and we wanted to keep it very, very relaxed for them, so that they speak to each other more, they have a good time in the villa itself. We had a dance party, the farewell dinner that evening. In the evening we had gone to Fort Aguada. Yeah, so last day was relatively a very light day. Then we went some shopping during the afternoon.
You're right. Like you mentioned earlier, they're called touristy for a reason, right? They're beautiful. Offbeat is fine, but they're touristy for a reason, right? Be it historical or be it natural beauty or whatever it might be, they've kind of earned their worth. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Fort Aguada, right? Again, you would have probably seen them if you've made trips to Goa. You would have definitely visited there. Otherwise, you would have seen them in movies. So this fort is also one of the more popular forts besides other like Fort Chapora. I guess overall too, like a 3 to 4 day type of an itinerary sounds like about the right size, right? You're not making it too long and that way too tiresome and stressful too on the seniors. Yeah.
So honestly, all these activities for any other ordinary group of my age or your age, we could squeeze everything in 2 days or maximum 3 days. But we made sure that we space out things. That's why we made it a 4 day and 4 nights and 5 days itinerary.
So like I was mentioning, it's been a busy itinerary too. Although you've tried and been very mindful of keeping it relaxed and not too strenuous on everybody in the group. As you finish the final day with Fort Aguada and everything, I'm assuming the next day was basically just taking it easy and then heading out to the respective home destinations. Is that how it's planned, Saakshi?
Yeah, that's right. So everybody's flight was the next day. And the only agenda was to bid bye-bye to everybody that day.
Yeah, glad it's been very comfortable and at the same time a very packed sort of 3 days that the group has spent, and I'm sure that they've had a lot of breaking of ideas and barriers that previously they thought was out of bounds, right? Tell us a little bit now, just as we begin to close the conversation, tell us a little bit more about True Joy Travels. I mean, I should have probably asked this earlier on in the conversation itself, but what was the origin story? Like, how did this come about? And also, where are you guys headed to in terms of upcoming trips, etc.? What's planned next?
The idea of True Joy Travels is very, very close to both our hearts. My partner Vrinda and I both are like emotionally invested in this concept. I'll tell you how. I recently lost my dad in March this year, and then there were so many places which he wanted to see and I wanted to show him. Although I've traveled with my family, my parents, quite a lot, but of course the world has so much to offer that will never be enough. So, for me, it is sort of a dedication to him because he used to like traveling, and he used to tell me that he wants to serve seniors in some way, and he was a doctor. So, so this is my idea how I wanted to do this so passionately. And for Vrinda also, she has over 16 years of enriching corporate career. But then she wanted to find some meaning in work from there on. And then she also has this feeling that she could not show, a lot of places to her mother in particular. There's some sort of guilt in the both of us, in all honesty, if I would say that we are not able to show as many places to our parents now because of their age, their health concerns, etc. So at the same time, we also thought that there are so many seniors who would want to see the world, but maybe, they don't have the right company to travel with. The kids, of course, kids our age have this major guilt in our heads for not being able to do enough for our parents. We really can't replicate the sheer joy of traveling with one's own children. Of course, we understand that. But at TJT, we promise to deliver an experience that comes as close to that, and take care of seniors as close to that. And we also want to ensure that their heart is brimming with happiness and they take a lot of memories to treasure when they depart from the trips.
Definitely, all I could say is kudos to you, both you and Vrinda, for starting off and taking this venture on. And at the end of the day, I think that's what matters most, what is close to your heart. And I'm glad that emotionally through this venture, you're actually getting that goal also to get seniors to explore more of the world, more of India. Kudos to you both on that. And tell us a little bit more about how can one find out more about True Joy Travels, and also what do you have in the pipeline? What are the kinds of trips that you're planning next?
Yeah, so Seth, we try to plan our trips at least 4-5 months in advance. We actually have a trip calendar planned till April 2024. So a few of the upcoming trips will be Pondicherry in December, which is again an all-ladies trip. And then we are doing international, which is Bali in January. We are also doing Udaipur in January. We are doing one spiritual trip as well, which is not only spiritual, but it has a lot to do with food and shopping, which is in UP. We are doing Lucknow, Ayodhya and Varanasi in February, where we are also touching the famous Ayodhya Ram Mandir, and we are also doing a lot of food walks and a lot of Banarasi silk shopping, etc. So, of course, Lucknow we are doing for kebabs and chicken curry shopping. So we plan it like that it's not only spiritual, because we understand that not all seniors, would want to see only the spiritual angle of a place. So we try to make it very, very wholesome so that, we have something for everybody. And then we are doing Andaman, which is again a ladies only trip in March. Kashmir is also planned for March, and another international trip is in April, which is to Singapore. So it's a mix of domestic and international trips.
Yeah, brilliant. And that is a very exciting lineup that you have already lined up. And how can one find out more, or if somebody has to contact you, or even just look through these upcoming itineraries and reach out to you, what's the best way?
Yeah,
Saakshi?
so we are on all social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Also, I'm sure if you'll all the listeners who are listening to this will pass on the word. So I think more of our information will be passed on through word of mouth. So
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure to link all of these social media handles so that when anybody interested in reaching out to you can reach out and inquire and hopefully sign up for these trips as well. And then at the end of the day, it's as much about seeing places as it is about experiences, right? It's just breaking free and being able to get out by yourself and enjoy the company of like-minded people.
Yeah, that's very crucial, I guess. But we're also experimenting with things like we want to do a mother-daughter trip wherein one of them at least has to be above 50. So, for example, I can travel with my mother who's, of course, over 50. So, like people are doing travel with kids, it's like traveling with mothers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said at the beginning, it's a very, very novel and noble idea, and wishing you, Saakshi, and True Joy Travels all are very best, and whatever way we can help with, please feel free to reach out to us. Real honor for Musafir Stories as well to host you back and have you back, Saakshi, and have you in this very different avatar almost, if I may, right, from when we spoke about years ago when we talked about Majuli. Thank you so much, Saakshi, for being on the Musafir Stories.
Thank you so much, Saif, for having me over. I had a lovely time chatting with you.
That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.